Welcome to Mind, Mood and Food podcast. I'm Margaret Bell, founder of Naturally Empowered Health, gut health expert, anti-diet coach and author of True Taste. And I'm here with my partner in crime, Adele Derbyshire.
Hello, I am the founder of Find Your Inner Sparkle. I am a yoga teacher and a spiritual teacher, and I help people to reduce anxiety, stress, and overwhelm, and to fall back in love with themselves and gain confidence. And this week we are talking about a topic that is going to probably take us a long time to cover. So we're just going to break it down and talk about it from the gut health and dietary aspect for today, perimenopause. So Margaret, because this is a massive subject and something that is close to both of our hearts, as I'm sure lots and lots of women that are listening.
Absolutely.
Where do we start?
Flipping heck. Well, as I said to you, I take this kind of thing into a corporate setting as well. So I have got a few little slides here, but don't worry, I'm not going to go all businessy on what. To be quite honest with you, a lot of what we experience in perimenopause and menopause can be linked to our gut health, literally because the majority of our hormones are produced in the gut. So when you think of it that way, is it any wonder that if we are, for instance, stressed, which is a lot to do, which happens a lot when we go through perimenopause and menopause, say that.
Yeah, easy for you to say when we can't get our words out. Merry Penamars, I sometimes say.
But a lot of symptoms I've noticed that when we get perimenopause and menopause are actually linked to an unhappy gut. So the likes of brain fog, the lack of sleep, as we've just spoken before we started this, anger, and a high emotional kind of charge, even weight gain as well, can all be linked in to our gut health. And it goes on to anxiety, depression and skin issues as well, which I think we all kind of experience one way or another when we're
So
going
does
through.
the gut health, why would that change then at the age of perimenopause? Because the hormone production kind of does change, doesn't it?
Yeah, it can be for a number of reasons. For instance, obviously, let's face it, a lot of us might not be having the best diet that we're having possible. Also, round about our age, the likes of our stress levels normally do go up, whether it's through the likes of the job that we do, because we have teenagers, because our parents are getting to a certain age. It all kind of adds up to the likes of 40 plus. Your stress level actually goes up. When your stress level goes up, the likes of cortisol and adrenaline is more produced. That has a huge effect. It basically, when that's produced, oxygen and everything is pumped round, so we're ready for fight and flight. But the kind of things that it actually does, it actually leads to a drop then in testosterone and progesterone. So if you've got the likes of adrenaline and cortisol going through your system all the time, then other female hormones and obviously male hormone, testosterone there, drop.
And this is what I'm thinking, because perhaps they're dropping anyway, because that's what happens with the perimenopause. Those hormones are already dropping, and that's what's difficult to get checked and diagnosed at the GPs, isn't it? You know, when I don't know, you see people like Davina and doing a great job talking about it and things, but they seem to have, I think, access to better checks and things like that. So they'll be like, oh, get your levels checked, and then you go along to your doctors if you're lucky enough to get in. And then they're like, oh, you know, we don't do tests for that. You know, if you're in a certain age bracket, they might offer you the HRT if you're lucky. But you might not get all those checks done, so you don't know exactly where your hormone levels are at in terms of checking.
Yeah.
And they change, don't they, over the month? So if you go and then get that, if you do get a test done, they might say everything's fine. So you go back a week later, they've checked your levels. But when you actually went and had them checked, I don't know, maybe you'd
Exactly.
just eaten something and it had affected them, or maybe they were okay that day, but the next day they weren't. So it's such a hard moving target to check anyway, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And there are kind of a lot, there's a lot more checklists coming out now. That actually do say, you know, if you've got these kind of symptoms, then you don't really specifically need blood tests or whatever from the doctor. Just take
Mm.
in your list of symptoms and say,
That's what I started
Mhm.
doing with that. There's an app called Balance that
Yeah,
somebody told me about. So whilst it's kind of like I'm just on the verge, I think, of starting all of this, I'm just starting to log. So
mhm,
if you've got a particularly um bad spell of like moods, or tracking my cycle so that you can actually see, hang on a minute, has that changed? But it's not, I think I used to think, and a lot of people do think, it's just when your periods start getting all messed up, or you get the hot flushes, flashes, whatever you call them. I think those two symptoms that I thought, you're not in perimenopause unless you get that.
mhm.
But that's not true, is it?
No,
We can be experiencing sudden drops in our confidence levels and anxiety, or perhaps mood
yeah,
swings,
mhm,
sleep problems, and all of that is part of that list.
yeah,
So it's important to track everything, really.
yeah. So when the likes of our progesterone and testosterone are low, this actually leads to a low sex drive,
Mm,
a decrease in your bone density, but also weight gain, fatigue, and I hate saying this, but I'm going to vaginal dryness.
yeah. Oh no, not looking forward to that.
No, not at
But
all.
again, there are things you can do.
Mhm.
I'm sure diet plays a big part, which you'll tell us about, but there are also things, I know. I haven't read it all yet, but I've got Davina's book, and so there's loads of stuff in there,
Yeah,
and different things that, topical creams and things like that. So there's things that you can do about it,
yeah.
but it's really important that we do talk about it. And yeah, like you say, I hate saying it's like vaginal dryness. We've got to say the
Mhm.
word vaginal. It's like,
Mhm.
oh my God. And it's embarrassing and things like that. But this is the thing. It's like the discussion on mental health. We are getting better,
Yeah,
but we still don't like to talk about it. And there will be people that maybe, work in that corporate setting. As you said, you go and do these presentations, and it's like you've got a male boss, and you don't want to talk about it with
exactly.
them. And so it's really tricky still,
Mhm.
and does still need a lot of work to be normalized.
Definitely. I mean, even to the point I was at a meeting earlier today, specifically on women's health, and it is, I would say there was two, yeah, there was two men in the room.
Mm.
So breaking down those barriers definitely has to happen. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, because men need to know to support their women, whether
Yeah.
that's women at home.
Hmm.
Like I said to my husband, I want to watch these documentaries, but I want you to watch them with me. And we haven't got round to watching them because when are you going to sit down with your snacks and put the menopause thing on? But I'm not watching it on my own because he needs to know what
Yeah,
he's in for. He needs to know,
absolutely.
and he needs to know how best to support
Yeah. Mhm. So going back to the gut health side of things, have you heard of the estrobolum?
the estro what?
The estrobolum.
Bolum. No.
Yes. It's actually a specific bacteria in the gut that influences the circulation of our estrogen.
Mm.
And there's about 60 different types of them. Hi, it's Margaret here. Thank you so much for listening to our Mind, Mood and Food podcasts, especially this episode, which is all based around perimenopause. And on that subject, I've actually got a gut health and menopause retreat coming up on the 1st of July 2023 at Ford Hall Farm, Market Drayton. I've collaborated with a menopause coach for this day, and the day will be filled with up-to-date information. It will also have a section with me specifically concentrating on our hormones and gut health, as well as a cooking masterclass filled with food that is going to be beneficial for your gut health and your menopausal health. So if you'd like to join me and Shirley Lane, menopause coach, on the 1st of July for our gut health and menopause retreat, then visit my website www.nehhub.com and look for our menopause and gut health retreat. Would love to see you there. Places are limited to just 10, so if you do want to come, be quick. And I'll see you soon. Now, back to the rest of the podcast. So the estrobolome actually metabolizes your estrogen. And when it's not metabolized, that's when it can cause the likes of toxicity in the body and eventually cancer. So I can remember quite a lot of HRT have been said that, you know, that they can raise cancer. This is a specific reason, to be quite honest with you, because the likes of your estrogen is raised, and that's where that actually comes from. So estrogen, it is actually only sex hormone that actually goes up and down and stays high if it's not broken down, which can lead to depression, anxiety, and it can also lead to your cortisol being risen as well. So that's the link between the likes of your cortisol being raised and obviously your testosterone and your progesterone dropping. It's a kind of circle happening. But we do have a lot of control over the estrobolome by improving your gut health.
So what have we got to eat? I'm waiting for you to tell me it's in white bread. Yay!
Unfortunately, not.
Potatoes, pies, these.
So first and foremost is actually repairing your gut lining, and the likes of, you're looking for things that are going to be full of amino acids and collagen. So it's not only great for repairing your gut, but it's good for your skin elasticity as well.
See, I got a collagen supplement, supposed to be like amazing. And it tasted awful, so I couldn't, just thrown it away because it's gone out of date.
Yeah, so probably a lot of people are going to go, but I'm going to go into this anyway. Bone broth.
Well, this was a bit like what it tasted like, I think, that supplement.
So you can make your own bone broth literally by going to a good butcher's, just getting the bones, adding a carrot and onion and some herbs to it. Just fill in, if you've got a slow cooker, brilliant. Put that lot in, fill it with water, leave it for 24 hours just on slow, and that's your bone broth done. You can buy it, or if you're not into that, you can actually get fermented aloe juice.
See, fermented sounds like on I'm a Celebrity when they make them eat horrible things.
But it's that kind of fermented stuff that is going to feed that bacteria in your stomach. That's your probiotic.
So what's that fermented aloe? Is that aloe vera type thing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's, I obviously, because quite a lot of people are vegetarian and vegan, so the bone broth might not be an option for you. So that's kind of an option for your veggies and your vegans there. So repairing that gut lining is first and foremost. From there, eating diverse and colourful, different kind of varieties of foods. The more diversity that you've got, the better. And it doesn't have to be Like, for instance, the likes of a red pepper, a yellow pepper, and a green pepper will have different kind of chemicals in to, to actually boost your gut health. So don't think, oh God, I've got to have a pepper, I've got to have this, I've got to have that. You can just have different colours of the same
Well, this is
vegetable.
this thing about eat a rainbow, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the times you can just look at food and it's very beige. If it is carbs and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Or just green. Like if we're rushing and we just get, I love this pack of green veggies we get. Probably get sick of it at some point, but they go in the microwave and they think they've got some kind of like flavoring on them. But it's like broccoli, green beans, peas, and I just love it. But it is just green, so it's like not getting the rest of the colours there.
Yeah. What I would say, the more kind of darkly hued stuff that you can get, the better. So like your purples and your blues, blueberries, not avocados. Come on, brain.
Aubergines.
Aubergine, thank you.
Eggplant for the Americans listening when we go international.
We already are. I'm sure we're already there.
Check the stats.
But also the likes of red cabbage as well.
I don't mind that on my potato pie. As you call it, tatarash in Wigan. Or lobbies. Call it scouse, don't they, in Liverpool?
I think they do, but I'm not scouse. But yeah. Where I come from, we'll call it tatey pot.
Tatey pot. See, it's one of those things that it's got all the different names under the sun. But yeah, that kind of thing, I don't mind my red cabbage on.
Yeah. But there's also things like sweet potato as well. And not just the orange sweet potato, you can get purple sweet potato.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
I didn't know that. And not in my supermarket, I've never seen
that. They're definitely out there, look out for them.
Yeah.
So the more kind of dark hued kind of veg and fruit you can have, the better, because it's literally got more antioxidants in it. But it's also got more of the kind of bacteria that's going to be beneficial for your gut. And as well, increasing the bacteria and fungi in your estrogenum is key. So nuts and seeds, pre and probiotic foods. So your prebiotics, I'm not quite sure if I've described this before. Your probiotics are the bacteria that lives in your gut. So when you have probiotic food, that's basically expanding your colony of bacteria that's already there. Your prebiotics are literally the water that's feeding those seeds, as it were. So your prebiotics are the likes of fibrous veg, sprouts, broccoli, cabbage, that kind of thing. The stuff that's got the fibre that's actually going to get through to your gut bacteria and feed them. And your probiotics is the like of your fermented stuff. So whether it's yogurt, whether it's kefir, which is the fermented yogurt, or whether it's stuff like sauerkraut, or, as I've said before, I've got another bottle here, in fact, kombucha. And then there's things like spices and herbs as well. So this is where the likes of, herb oils can come in. So oregano, you and me both know the power of oregano for your actual gut health, especially if you take it, in little capsule form and have it that way. Basil, cinnamon as well. And cinnamon is also so beneficial for balancing your blood sugar out.
You forget about things like cinnamon, don't you? Because I go to that kind of thing in the autumn time. You've got your pumpkin, all that pumpkin spice. Not that I drink those. I don't like those. I like the idea, pumpkin spice latte, but I put cinnamon on a coffee at home, or see, I've got coffee in Newwood.
Hey.
Or like, on top of something like a porridge with different things like that. But you wouldn't normally go for it in, springtime, summertime. So yeah, it's worth remembering about that.
definitely is.
And thinking of different ways to use it, really,
Yeah.
inventive ways to use those kind of things.
I always add it to my curries. Um,
Mm,
literally because it's a warming spice. It's
yeah.
not, you can add it to that, or even I have done it in before, when I've added paprika to stuff, just add a little sprinkle of cinnamon in as well. Kind of lifts it. But also turmeric as
Mm.
well, which is a huge anti-inflammatory.
I know, because I told my mum about that. She still remembers it. She still has lots of it, and she makes this soup actually that is turmeric soup. She's like got all
Mm,
these different veggies and stuff, and turmeric, and she said it's really nice, because she had inflammation, and this. I was like looking up what you can do. This was years and years ago, but she still uses it a lot to this day, which is good.
mm. And then there's the likes of avocado, fish, and olive oil. I think a lot of people, don't concentrate quite a lot on the fact that we actually do need fat in our diet.
Mm.
It's very apparent that the likes of the diet industry and
Yeah,
the
I was
likes
going to
of,
say that
yeah,
certain
yeah,
brands of diet companies that shall not be named so we don't get sued or whatever, but it's this whole, I think we've talked about it before early on in the beginnings of our
Mhm.
podcast, diet foods,
Yeah, the likes of low fat
taking out
stuff.
the fat,
Mm,
and
you,
artificial sweeteners and all of that stuff.
mhm,
Yeah, and I've talked about before that I used to do that and fall
yeah,
foul of it and thinking, oh yes, well you've got to have the low fat versions of things and the low fat yogurts and things like that.
mhm,
And then for years now I've not. I've had and I love, as I've mentioned before, my Greek yogurt and just a
yeah,
little pot, and I'll put my nuts and seeds on there. But yeah, I could add little bits of cinnamon and other things,
yeah,
just to even a bit. I don't
absolutely.
know what turmeric would taste like on my yogurt, but
Interesting.
yeah,
Mm,
I could
yeah. But it's
find
been
out how I can add that.
scientifically proven these days now that we do need good fats in our diet, specifically so we can absorb more vitamins and minerals.
Mm,
If we're not having the good fats, then we're not absorbing what we need.
yeah, and this is it about the anti-diet
Hmm.
idea, which I love, is by the time you've tried to get these things added into your diet, by the time you've gone, I've got like almonds or Brazil nuts I keep in the fridge and stuff. So you're like, oh, I've not had my almonds, get a handful of those, a couple of Brazil nuts. If you've got to try and add in your avocado and this, that, and the other, or a bit of fruit and veg. So, I had an apple yesterday, and by the time you fitted all that in,
Hmm.
because I was a bit peckish, so I grabbed one to take on the way to a class. You don't need as much of your other stuff because you're like, well, I'm not
Hmm.
hungry. So if you
Exactly.
think more about what you've got to add in to keep that little gut industry happy and producing
that
all the right things.
that gut world, because it is.
Gut world, yeah.
We've got 300 blooming trillion of the little fellas.
Yeah, I like to think of it like that because you're like, oh, I've not fed my little gut world today. What have I done that's going to feed it?
Yeah. So that's a bit of a whistle stop
Mm.
tour. It's out. I know
Really
I've.
interesting take on things though, yeah, because I think it's easy to go in with the menopause and just go straight in with HRT
Mhm,
and hormone, to replace those hormones with creams and patches and things like that,
mhm.
or managing those symptoms of hot flushes and what you can do, your fans and your
Yeah.
opening the windows and changing your bedding, and we can talk about all that stuff, but I think this is like maybe a different take on it that
Yeah.
people won't have thought of, and especially like the likes of me, people who are just starting on that journey. I think if you're listening to this before you've reached that point of menopause and you are a bit younger, and you've got time to put this work in, surely
Yeah.
that's going to be better to start just making those
Absolutely.
tweaks.
Start making the changes as soon as
Mm,
you can, because I've noticed. I mean, I'm 48 now. God help me. Um, but yeah, I'm 48 now, and I would honestly say the only kind of things that I'm noticing is that my periods are starting to change.
mm.
I get the odd brain fog, but I'm not personally putting that brain fog down to like the perimenopause and menopause. I'm literally putting it down to the fact that I've got so much going on that my
Yeah,
brain can only remember a certain amount of stuff.
this is it. I think past a certain age,
Yeah.
into your 40s, it's all too easy, isn't it? Really, to
Mhm,
blame everything on perimenopause if you're in
yeah.
a mood, if you're,
Mhm.
forgetful, all of that stuff. And you literally forget that you probably had a lot of this stuff going on before. Like we've
Yeah,
always had hormone swings and mood
yeah.
swings and things like that. So yeah, I don't know, like sometimes I suppose you might be a self-fulfilling prophecy and thinking
Mm,
it's this, it's this, it's this. And perhaps feel disempowered
yeah,
because it's like, well, this is happening, there's nothing I can do about it. So I like this because it gives us some tools to
yeah.
try and do something to help stem that tide because it feels very disempowering to just have all these hormone changes going on that we can't do anything about unless we go and get the
Mhm.
replacements from the doctors.
Yeah,
And I do like to do things if at all possible naturally and using natural
yeah.
solutions. So to look at using diet and essential oils and herbs and supplements,
Mhm.
things like that, definitely is something that I want to try first. So if anyone else is in the same boat, please give this stuff a try. I did try kefir and then I didn't get it again. I went off it a bit and thought, no, maybe I'll try it again. Probably have to just keep persevering with it. Yeah, and that whole thing about eating a rainbow and just
Yeah.
life gets in the way. You go back to your usual habits. So just making small changes as well. I think sometimes it can feel a bit overwhelming that you've got to suddenly change all your shopping and all your dietary
Yeah,
habits.
not at all,
So
just
yeah, just make some
yeah,
tweaks.
absolutely make some treats, and try kefir in a smoothie if you're not
Mm,
too keen. Give that a go.
yeah, that's a good idea. Just
Mhm,
instead of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, thinking how else can I use this ingredient?
mhm,
Yeah.
exactly.
Lovely. Thank you so much. I hope that has been as useful for you guys as it has been for me. I am definitely going to try some of these tips from the lovely Margaret. So do get in touch, drop us a line, send us a message. You can find us all over the social media. I am all over with my name, Find Your Inner Sparkle, in all the places. And where can we find you, Margaret?
Or you can find me on Instagram as Gut Feelings with Mark Bell, and you can find me on LinkedIn just by my name, or on Facebook as well. Gut Feelings
Lovely.
with Naturally Empowered Health.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you on the next one.